Neo Meditations. Free your mind.
Universal knowledge.
Healing. Ascension.
Empowerment. Neological Technologies.
Hello, I'm James Rink, the founder and director of Neological Technologies, and I have an important message to share with you today. It has always been our goal to fulfill our mission statement, which is to assist in the ascension process of humanity by opening up people's hearts and minds through the use of meditation technology. Now, when we first began this experiment many years ago, we have been striving to fulfill that mission statement. For those of you who are new to the Neo technology, a Neo is a zero-point energy chi energizer, which allows you to interface with the consciousness energy field. The inside of the box contains human hair, which is DNA, and DNA is crystalline, and crystals allow you to create scalar waves into other dimensions, or interdimensional physics here. So consider the box as a reality generator. And I actually got one right here, and I'll show you. This one is our Neo Infinity. I only have a few of these units in stock, so if you want to get one of those, and I'm going to be using this for our meditation today. Okay, so the idea behind this technology is that the inside of the box is based on sacred geometry, and anything that is in tune with sacred geometry, well, first of all, I should back up here. What is sacred geometry? There is a certain vibrational frequency that flows all throughout nature. You can see it in flower petals. You could see it in the Fibonacci sequence. You could see it in how stock market patterns move. And you can also see it on how the human body is designed based on pi ratios. So there is a certain mathematical vibrational frequency that flows through everything, and you could even go as far as stating that it is actually God. Now, the idea is if you could tap into that frequency through meditation and relaxation, you can not only begin to integrate yourself, but you can help manifest your reality using the law of attraction. Now, one of my clients have actually used one of these devices to remote view the Ark of the Covenant. And what he saw was that this device has the same technology as the Ark of Covenant. Now, as you can imagine, anything that empowers humanity or raises its consciousness is what we consider a target from the dark cabal. Okay, now, if you know anything about me personally, then you know at least some of my background, some of the things I've talked about, at least in Changes on the Horizon, which is a documentary I did. It got about 250,000 views. You can go check that on YouTube. It took me 3 years to make, where I talk about how throughout the course of history there has been certain dark elements within the world elite that want to corral and control humanity. And anything that comes along and sets people free from that control system is vehemently opposed. And of course, you saw what happened during the Inquisition, or even before that in Jesus' time when they put him on the cross. So if we go fast forward into the future, here's a technology which can set you free by tapping into your own inner God self through the use of meditation, and by relaxing you can help access your gifts, your psychic gifts and intuition. Now, this kind of technology, unfortunately, is so powerful that it has placed members within my team under target, or let's say harassment, by certain powers that be. And the message that I'm going to share with you isn't something that I really want to share with you, because I want to give you good news. I want to tell you the world is just fine, and everybody loves you, and some New Agers even go as far as saying that there's no such thing as Satan, or there is no dark. There's only light. and different. Well, that is true. There is there's only light, but there's different, we'll say, colors or vibrational frequencies of light. But there is a dark side to all this, and unfortunately, some of the things that we have done and have upset certain individuals. And I'm going to go into this. What I should actually do is go back to how this all started and what's going on here. The inventor of this Neo device is a very gifted psychic by the name of Kusal Uch. He's Cambodian, and Kusal has come up with many great inventions. A lot of them have to do with conscious energy, Montauk type technology, styled, or you could even say radionics or orgone, those kind of devices, but something that amplifies the effects. And Akusa and I were very good friends, but unfortunately, the Dark Cabal targeted him. And this was back in June of 2011. He started to get phone calls from a NSA liaison that wanted to, let's just say, get a hold of this technology. They started leaving messages on his phone, letting him know that his technology will be ours, as in the Dark Cabal. So Kusal was very gifted psychic, and he already looked up who it is that was behind these phone calls, and he already knew it was basically the head of the Dark Cabal. Of course, I asked him to give me a name, and he wouldn't do so for my own safety and protection, which I honor and respect. So go forward into the future. He began a series of negotiations with this individual, and they basically informed him that they wanted to get this company, I'm not going to say shut down, but more like under control, because they viewed me as a rogue asset. And I'm not going to go too much in my background. If you want to know a little bit about me, I do another video series. You can learn all about that. But in particular, they were upset about that, and they were also upset that we were basically selling Ark of Covenants, okay, the same technology which can allow you to manifest your own reality. So one of the suggestions, or one of the proposals, was to bring Neological Tech into the shadow government, and this technology would be used as a weapon against the general population for mind control purposes. And I would refuse to do that. Something like this happened during the time of Atlantis. You see, back in Atlantis, I worked with the priesthood, and I was in charge of keeping the crystals, which were basically plugged into the Earth's grid lines. And they took my crystals away from me, and they wanted to weaponize it. And I stood back and let them do it. And of course, they focused the beam of energy into the tectonic plates, and it caused Atlantis to fall into the sea. So this time around, when I'm in charge of something like this technology, I would refuse to allow this to be used for evil. So they already knew they couldn't do that option. The other option was to kill me, but that's not going to work so well because I am being protected by my Palladian star family, and they have me under constant surveillance. Now, the other option was to buy us off. Of course, I don't want any of their money. You know, there is some risks involved with this, and that's why I do need your support. You know, I'm very grateful that all my viewers are listening to my Neo meditations. I try to bring out new, interesting stories, different meditations each week, but I really do need your financial support in this. Just listening to the meditations is not part of protocol. You actually have to have a unit to get the effects, okay? But I just want to mention that despite these risks, we are still going to press on, and what ultimately happened in all this was that the inventor of this technology was kidnapped. Okay, he was. Now this has to go with my labs, and I know a lot of people in the metaphysical community I think a lot of people out there are very open-minded and aware, but there are some people that might find this information frightening or even dark. But I believe that everyone should know the truth if they're searching for it. Now, the inventor was kidnapped. He was taken to, according to my sources, I've had not only just remote viewers, but I've had other people that are connected to people within the Illuminati, and they basically traced him down to an underground facility in Venezuela, and he was being plugged into it was like a coffin-like bed where he would be plugged into the AI, which is an artificial intelligence network. The AI controls the dark cabal within this planet. It is tied into the reptilian Draco Gray consciousness. And I want to mention here, not all Greys, Dracos, and Reptilians are negative, but this is the negative faction. And these computers are tied into Pine Gap and another one on the moon, the Beast computers. So what was going on is that the Dark Cabal was basically using Kusal's brain to create similar technology like the Neo, but they wanted to use it for dark purposes. Now, of course, I wasn't very happy when I found out about all this. Of course, not only they took my inventor away, they put a clone of him in his place, and the clone managed to sabotage a lot of our friendship and business relationship, and it got to the point where we had to sever our any kind of business dealings, which brought me much sadness. But when you are a truth teller and a light worker, these are the prices that you have to pay sometimes. And I wasn't going, a lot of people said, James, why do you keep selling these things? All this stuff's going on. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth putting yourself at risk? And folks, it is worth it, because here's an opportunity to change the world, okay? If you want to do something amazing for humanity, sitting back and watching TV and just watching others do all the hard work doesn't solve anything. Sometimes you have to get your hands dirty. And unfortunately, Kusal got himself into a quagmire, which... So what I did in response to all this is I put together a video on my other show that I do, other talk series, and I did basically a plea for the extraterrestrials to go into these underground facilities and to clean them out and to rescue Kusal. And not only Kusal, there were other inventors. You see, apparently what goes on is that anybody who comes up with any kind of technology that has the potential to change the world or take the power away from the elites, the Dark Cabal, what happens is that these inventors are kidnapped. They're taken to underground facilities, and a clone of them is put in their place. And the clone, of course, is programmed. They have technology that can do age reversal and also accelerated aging is what I'm saying here. And I'm not going to go into how they do all these clones, but they also have computers that can insert memories using holograms. But we're talking Black Ops, beyond top secret here. So these technologies do exist, and that's why when you see an inventor that has a free energy device or an anti-gravity device, the next thing you know, they start acting cuckoo and they start saying things that contradict themselves, and they start destroying any kind of business relationships or anything like that. Then you know they most likely been cloned. And they also do it to our politicians as well. But that's a different story. You need to go see Changes on the Horizon if you want to learn about that. Now, so what I did in this video, this was around August 20th that we did this. That I did this video, and I asked the ETs to go in these underground bases to clean them out and rescue Kusal. Now, what happened 2 days later, there was an earthquake in Virginia, which basically it destroyed the, well, I shouldn't say destroyed it. Well, okay, it did. The earthquake itself was not an earthquake. It was actually a bomb. The extraterrestrials detonated a bomb in these underground facilities, somewhere in Virginia. I forgot where the epicenter was, but they beamed all the personnel out of these facilities. And, I should talk about a little bit why these facilities are built, especially for those out there who into the metaphysical and open-minded, but you don't know a clue about depopulation or Agenda 21 or what the elites have in plan for humanity. But basically, the world elites want to see about 91.5% of the world's population destroyed by the year 2020. And what they intend to do is to create nuclear war or pestilence or famines, anything, destroying the monetary system. They're going to try to do anything they possibly can to get the world population down while they hide out in their lavish, luxurious surroundings. They basically have some of the people that have been down these facilities state that, like, the Rockefeller mansion in these underground bases is so lavish. It's like almost like the Sistine Chapel. It's that beautiful. So these facilities, all the elite were going to hide out down there, while the rest of us on the surface were basically left for dead. So what the ETs did is they rescued the personnel, because the personnel are heavily mind controlled. Once you get involved, let's say you were given the opportunity of a lifetime to go down these bases to work in these facilities, you can never leave. They don't let you leave. You get chipped, brainwashed, and you can't leave. So that's one of the reasons why they were rescued. And of course, once the personnel were evacuated, then they destroyed the facilities. So now the elites have no place to hide, and if they try their genocide, they're going to die with it. Okay, so that happened. And the other thing I want to mention is that there was actually a crack in the apex of the Washington Monument, which symbolized, of course, I've got an obelisk here. The obelisk is a symbol. Well, it's an Egyptian symbol. In my past life, I was a pharaoh, so I have the right to use this. But the Illuminati also like to use a lot of symbols themselves, and I'm not going to go into Illuminati symbolism here, but the pyramid is actually, anything that's pyramid shaped is a conductor of energy, chi energy. Okay. So when you have a crack in the apex, that basically means their power base is cracking. That's why, if you look at the back of a dollar bill and you see the pyramid there, and the eye in the pyramid, they like to use symbols like that. But their power base is already falling apart, and I like to take credit for at least part of that. I think a lot of it is the human consciousness is raising to a certain level that anything the elites do, anything negative, will be turned against them. So, I don't think it's going to be much longer, but I wanted to mention that. So, the other thing I wanted to talk about is how this inventor. Okay, well, let's fast forward a few more months. This was early December. He was rescued. He called me up and he let me know that he was okay. He told me this story of how he was, when he was in these facilities, he was told to basically look into a white light. They would basically have him sit down and they would interrogate him. They would ask him questions. They would ask him, well, what do you know about James Rink? And Kusal would say, I don't know anything. And they would tell him to look into the white light, and he would black out. And then they would put him back in this coffin-like bed where he would be plugged into a computer. And they would do this over and over again. And while that was going on, they would give him a lobotomy. The idea was to destroy his long-term memory so that he would not be able to build a Neo ever again to help James Rink, me, or the mission that we're doing here. So Kusal told me what happened is that the next thing he remembers was that a team of Palladian Black Ops, well, I should say, he said blonde-haired Black Ops. He thought that might be Palladian. I'm thinking maybe they are. You know what? I can't even comment because I don't know. Okay, but he said he was blindfolded and transported onto a helicopter, a black helicopter that levitated, and he was taken to a delta-shaped aircraft and transported to outer space where they docked with the Palladian light ships, and him, along with other inventors that were rescued from this facility, and which was also after they were extracted, the facility was destroyed. He was treated by the Palladians. He was they gave him a biological implant that injected nanites to regenerate his neurons. And the reason why they did that is because the whoever was doing experiments on him destroyed his long-term memory. So Kusal told me that this light ship was beautiful. It looked like it was a hologram, but it looked similar to planet Earth, and everything. The colors were much more beautiful and vivid. And eventually, they brought him back to his home, and they told him to give me a call. So they gave him my phone number, and Kusal called me up, and he didn't remember much. He didn't know who really I was. He didn't remember that he had a family. Unfortunately, his family was deported soon after he was targeted back in June. And I informed him what has gone on since then. And unfortunately, Kusal just didn't remember very much. But he has the ability to read the Akashic records, and he was able to look up at least some of the things that was going on with his clone. And he told me, or he informed me, that his clone had set up another company. Well, actually, I informed him his clone set up another company. It's called Bearmay.com. And Kusal warned me. He said that his clone was created a device. It's similar to the Neo, but it has coal, graphite, and a ruby in it, which causes the user to become possessed by the units. And Kusal asked me to put a message on my website warning other people not to get a Bearmay. He said his clone was programmed to break up any kind of relationships that he had with me. In addition to that, even though his clone was programmed, Kusal is a very difficult person to, let's just say, work with. So he was already, even his clones were all going rogue. And Kusal told me he had 20 clones, and most of them were on an underground facility. So anyway, and apparently his clone is still living with his family in Cambodia. But you know, as bizarre as all this sounds, let's go forward a few more weeks. And I was already tentatively trying to assist Kusal, trying to bring him back into the company, and see if I could get him some kind of help financially to get him back on his feet. And you know, ultimately we were able to give him a little donation to help him out during this time. And fast forward a few more weeks, and next thing you know, Kusal is start posting that he is a demon, and that he's telling people to buy a Bearmay. You know, remember, again, now this is the very unit that he warned me about a few weeks prior. So it's almost like his personality has shifted to the point that I suspect what has happened. Unfortunately, I don't know for sure, but at this point, we're going to have to cut off all ties with Kusal. It's not something that I really wanted to do because he's such a brilliant inventor, but the universe is basically saying that it's just not going to work out. I don't know where he is right now, the original. You know, Kusal told me that soon after he was rescued, he said that he was under 24/7 surveillance, and I was as well. So I'm guessing maybe he was extracted yet again. Maybe he's back with the Palladians. I don't know. But I send him love and light wherever he is. I honor and I respect him. But we're going to press on with the Neological mission. And that's where I need your help. We have other inventors that are coming up with some great ideas. And they're going to be assisting us as well. The only way I can bring these technologies out is I need to know from you, the viewers, that you enjoy the not only the meditations I do, but enjoy the technologies that we're able to bring and how they can help and assist you. So what I would actually like to do right now is, stories and talk is interesting and wonderful, but ultimately it all comes down to the inner soul, touching the inner spirit and gaining access to parts of those mind where we can access the unlimited. Okay, and again, we are facing almost impossible odds. If you look at it, the Dark Cabal owns the banking system. Okay, they own the monetary system. Monetary system's fiat, so they can go out and print as much money as they want. Not you or I. We don't have the keys to any printing presses. If we need more money, we actually have to go work for it. Okay, so they have control of the monetary system. They have control of the news media and the governments. The governments are owned by the banks, and who are in turn owned by the central banks, who are in turn owned by the 13 families, or really, there's about 300 owners of the Federal Reserve System now. So the Federal Reserve System, the Cabal, all that's tied in to get hand in hand. I could spend a long time here explaining how all that works, but you should go watch Changes on the Horizon if you want to learn more about that. So the question is, what can we do as light workers and star seeds to alter this reality, this control matrix? When we came to this planet, well, let's just say before we came to this planet, we already knew the stakes were very high. Okay, we knew that this planet was about to have. Well, first of all, there's two things that are going to either happen. This planet's either going to be destroyed, or it's going to ascend. And the question is, which timeline do we want to be on? Now, I personally want to be on the Ascension timeline. Now, those of the Dark Cabal and Satan's minions, and I believe about 90% of humanity would fit in the equation of Satan's minions, considering how so many people are brain dead. Okay, people who are not awake and who are not actively doing anything to change their reality, and basically blindly following whatever the news media says and believing it, are really nothing more than Satan's minions, even though they may be very loving, kind people. Since they have no knowledge and no wisdom and no discernment, they're just nothing but I don't really want to go on his negativities here. So, but the good news is, if you're listening to this, and if you're still listening to this, and if you still if you still trust your own heart enough to be taking me seriously, which I am very grateful for, because a lot of people listen to my material and like, oh my God, this guy's a kook. But you have to understand that, there are some things, we have been told lies for such a long time that if truth were to hit you, would you even recognize it? Okay? And that's something that you should think about, because truly, how do we know what truth is? Truth can only be found by looking within your own heart, your own inner God self. And that's where meditation comes into play. So what I'm going to do at this moment is I'm going to do a meditation with you, and I would like you to join in. And if you don't have a Neo, by all means, join in anyway. You can still send positive energy. But this meditation is meant to be used with a Neo. that's the way that we're going to ultimately edit this timeline. Again, these are like Ark of Covenants. It's the same kind of technology. So this is what, and there's nothing wrong with using technology to assist your meditation. That's the reason why God gave us these things, is so that we can use them. But whether you have a unit or not, let's go ahead and feel free to join me. What I'm going to do is I'm going to activate my unit, and I've got a list here of some things that I want to manifest. So first of all, I'm going to show you how it's done. Let's see here. The first step is to... Okay, so the first step is you actually need to put the unit on your lap. And that's what I got. I got my pillow here for that. Because this is my IDL Infinity. Okay. So you put it on your lap. And then I'm going to put my hand side by side of my Neo. And then we're going to activate the unit. Now ideally we do this in a dark room, but if I was to turn my light off, you probably wouldn't be able to you wouldn't be able to see me because my camera can only pick up, good footage and highlight. But so I'm going to just show you how to do it this way. You put your hand side by side and you say, you close your eyes, both feet on the floor, device activate and increase. So go ahead and do that right now. Close your eyes. All right. And device activate and increase. And what I like you to do is to wait till you feel the torsion energy coming off the unit. And that would feel like, of course, you're holding your palms. Even if you don't have a unit, just place your palms on your lap. And you just imagine the cube between your hands. And wait till you feel the buzzing sensations within your palm chakras. Okay, and that's the torsion energy. Device, we trust you completely to integrate our mind, body, and spirit. Stargate, we trust you completely. At this point, visualize the Stargate. It should appear like a white light in your pineal gland. So go ahead and visualize that now. Stargate, we trust you completely. Device activate Stargate mode. At this point, and then you say automatic mode. At this point, the unit is activated. Again, if you didn't get the activation protocol, that's okay. It's all on the website, and when you get your unit, it'll be in the manual as well. So what I'd like you to do is, one of the biggest problems that we have is Obama and how he is blocking the NESARA law. NESARA gets rid of the Federal Reserve and the IRS. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to see the military, the white knights in the military. These are the folks at the Office of Naval Investigations in the Pentagon. I'd like you to see them basically storming the White House and arresting Obama for not only not being a natural-born citizen, but for crimes against humanity, for blocking NESARA, and of course, him and his wife and his kids all have Vatican bank accounts. So, what I like to see is all this money that they've been stealing confiscated and returned back to the American people. And I'd like to see the announcement of NESARA. So what I'd like you to do is to visualize the military storming all the branches, the 13 branches of the Federal Reserve. And I'd like to see the U.S. Treasury taking over the functions of the Federal Reserve Bank, a new U.S. Treasury-based monetary system. So go ahead and imagine new rainbow currency appearing in your wallet, and this currency is backed by bullion. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is to visualize these Illuminati bankers working with at least those that have not been arrested, because we're still going to need these bankers that run the Federal Reserve to transition us to a new gold-backed currency. So at this point, just visualize all these bankers working with the government, and that there's no bloodshed, and that it's peaceful. And what I'd like you to see is the Federal Reserve notes all being called in by the banks, and the Federal Reserve notes being shredded, okay, for the fiat crap that it is, okay. And what I'd like you to do is to visualize the global settlements coming out. Every American over the age of 21 would receive a debit card with a value of $120,000, which is in payment for all the crimes and past harms done to them by the Dark Cabal, and that's only a fragment of what they should get. I believe that's an annual dividend payment. But whether it's annual or a one-time lump sum doesn't really matter so much. Just visualize enormous prosperity and abundance coming to all humanity. And it's not just people within the United States, it's in Canada, Europe, even third world nations all over the world will receive this money in abundance. So let's go ahead and visualize all these countries, the IMF being dismantled, the Bank of International Settlements, the World Bank, and something more humane, which benefits all humanity, okay? Not just the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, but all of humanity. And what I'd like you to do now is let's ask our device to cause certain elements within the Illuminati to tear itself apart. Because, you know, anything that has to do with the satanic consciousness is always naturally trying to destroy itself, okay? And the only way they can control anything is they have to torture and abuse in a pyramid type structure, okay? So we ask that the lower ranks within the Illuminati, since only folks within the Illuminati can touch other folks, we ask that you would break ranks now, immediately, and turn on your masters. And we ask that you would assist the military and the White Knights to bring about this new monetary system, which would allow the abundance and prosperity that was originally set up by Saint Germain over 200 years ago. Again, this is the World Trust, 1729. This money has been sitting in arrears since 1729, waiting to be released to humanity. It was supposed to be released in the year 2000, but that was stopped with the destruction of the World Trade Center in this so-called War on Terror. So we ask that the folks that have the hearts and have the wisdom and knowledge and discernment and in the position to do something about it will be able to. So let's just edit the timeline right now and visualize their own secret society and their own groups all just tearing themselves apart. Okay, good. Now what I'd like you to do is I want you to see integration for Monarch victims, my labs, folks that have been traumatized and abused, even folks within the Illuminati. Okay, many of these folks that are part of these families have been abused horribly, and that's one of the reasons how they're controlled. So we ask that we don't visualize bloodshed, but we see peace and forgiveness, and we forgive them for what they've done. We just ask that they would help assist humanity and stop being afraid, okay? Because when people start having fear, that's when we go into our point where we can't, where we become disempowered. So let's not go into fear. Let's be bold and brave, and all of us work together here, okay? And we ask that the free energy, anti-gravity, and teleportation technologies be released. So imagine a world like George wasn't it? Yeah, the Jetsons. And I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I grew up on the Jetsons, and I really wanted to live in a world like that. So I don't know about you, but I think it'll be kind of fun to have instead of having a house, you know, that's taxed and you have to pay property taxes or rent, wouldn't it be nice to just have a levitating home where you can go wherever you want and not have to pay any tax, or not have to worry about passports, and not even have to worry about what planet you're going to stay on? How about a world like that where we can have freedom? So imagine everybody having flying crafts, teleportation. You can go instantly. You know, wouldn't it be nice to, say you work in New York City, and wouldn't it be nice to just have a lunch in Tahiti and then come back for work? Okay, that's the kind of world we can live in. Alright. And we also like to manifest the coming of the Golden Age, and all that's going to happen through Saint Germain's World Trust. So let's see the announcement of Saint Germain's World Trust on national TV. Okay. And we ask Saint Germain and the Light Councils to assist us at this time. We call upon you to anchor this energy pattern that we are projecting into the universe. Okay. And we ask that you anchor this energy pattern into this timeline where we can go into a timeline where there is ascension and where there is first contact with our extraterrestrial light beings. We call upon the extraterrestrials to assist humanity in cleaning up the dark cabal, to self-destruct all the clones, all the mind control programming, all the brainwashing. We ask that it come to an end. We ask that the ETs would disable any kind of HARP projects that may be used for evil. Okay. Alright. Well, I think we said enough at this point. And what I'd like you to do is go ahead and open your eyes, device in session. Okay, I want to thank you for joining in. I had one more comment I wanted to mention. I feel the future is going to hold many positive things. We already see their power base crumbling. It's only a matter of time. Well, anyway, that's all I have to say. I know it was quite a lot. This was always supposed to be like a short video, but you know, knowing me, I always have a lot to say. So I thank you for listening in, and by all means, please visit my website, learn more about the Neo, where you can purchase a unit. Use my name, James, in the coupon code box. That's my thank you to you for listening in to get 10% off. And I guess until next time, I like to think that the next time I do a video update, I'll have a lot of positive things to say. Maybe I like to think that NESARA will be announced by then. Okay? Alright, everybody. Thank you for listening in, and bye-bye.
What you just manifested was through the power of your own Chi energy. Your Neo device will increase these effects and take you into even deeper journeys of your mind, so that you too can experience the joy of out-of-body sensations in an integrated mind, body, and spirit. So what are you waiting for? Get one now at www.neologicaltech.com.